Narges Mohammadi has actively promoted the Gaza narrative propagated by the Islamic Republic, yet she has never condemned the atrocities committed by Hamas against both Israeli civilians and non-combatant residents of Gaza who oppose Hamas rule. While remaining silent on these war crimes, both Mohammadi and her husband, Taghi Rahmani, have consistently and repeatedly condemned Israel for defending itself against terrorist attacks by Hamas and Hezbollah, groups that are internationally recognized as terrorist organizations. This selective outrage reflects not a commitment to human rights, but a political alignment with the Islamic Republic's regional agenda. While the regime murders and oppresses its own people, it also fuels war and terrorism across the Middle East, including in Gaza. The Iranian people have spoken clearly. They reject both the regime's domestic tyranny and its foreign interventions. Mohammadi's silence on Hamas and her focus solely on Israel mirrors the regime's propaganda rather than any principled stand. The true crisis is not in Gaza, it is in the collapse of moral clarity among international institutions. Awards like the Nobel Peace Prize lose credibility when they amplify voices that excuse or ignore terror in favor of politics. Human rights are universal, but when applied selectively, they become tools of propaganda, wrote Iranian Americans for Liberty on X. Farzaneh Qarahasanlu, one of the detainees from Iran's national uprising, is in a critical physical and mental state in Ward 5 of Vakilabad prison, Mashhad. A source close to her says she's suffering from multiple health issues: blurred vision, dry eyes, kidney stones from contaminated prison water, muscle stiffness, jaw damage due to dental issues, and nervous breakdowns caused by being denied outdoor time. Despite the coroner's recommendation for continued treatment, Judge Naveed Tabatabai blocked her care, claiming it was cosmetic, even though her family had already covered all medical expenses. Ms. Farzaneh, who once voiced her support for Prince Reza Pahlavi in an audio message from prison, is now banned from even video or in-person visits with her husband, Dr. Hamid Qarahasanlu. The couple hasn't seen each other in nearly 20 months, and her family has only had a few brief visits behind glass. Roya Sabit, a Baha'i citizen living in the UAE, has been sentenced to 25 years in prison by the Revolutionary Court in Shiraz after being arrested during a visit to Iran. She received 10 years each for alleged collaboration with Israel and forming a group against national security, plus 5 years for promoting a sect contrary to Islamic law. On top of that, she's been banned from leaving the country for 2 years, stripped of social rights for 5 years, and barred from using social media. The issued verdict will fall under Article 134 of Iran's Penal Code. If upheld on appeal, meaning the harshest sentence, 10 years, will be enforced. Ms. Roya was arrested after being summoned by IRGC intelligence in Shiraz and released on bail after nearly 5 months in Adelabad prison. These heavy sentences against religious minorities, especially Baha'is, highlight the deepening crackdown on freedom of belief in Iran. Fahim Soltani, a law student at the University of Isfahan, was arrested on and taken to Dolatabad prison to serve a 1-year prison sentence. She had previously been sentenced by Judge Muhammad Tawakkoli at Branch 1 of the Isfahan Revolutionary Court to 1 year in prison and 2 years suspended on the charge of inciting war and bloodshed. The verdict was upheld by both the Appeals Court and Iran's Supreme Court. Ms. Fahimeh was first arrested after being summoned by IRGC intelligence and was temporarily released on bail a month later. She has also faced academic punishment last year. The university's disciplinary committee banned her from studying for 2 semesters. Fuad Chubin, one of the detainees from Iran's nationwide uprising and the uncle of the late Artin Rahmani, shared haunting images of the symbolic grave of Sohrab Ahmadi, a friend of Abul Korkur, revealing the harrowing reality faced by his grieving family. According to Mr. Chubin, after 85 relentless and fruitless days of pursuing information, Sohrab's family was forced to bury only his clothes in the village of Talkhab in Izeh. He wrote, Sohrab had surrendered after being surrounded, yet he was gunned down by the Islamic Republic's forces. His body has still not been returned to his family. Mr. Chubin emphasized that this grave is not merely a memorial but a testament to the Islamic Republic's cruelty toward protesters and a symbol of the deep injustice that continues to stain the lives of countless families in Iran. A group of retirees from the civil service, social security, telecommunications, and healthcare sectors gathered in front of the Civil Servants Pension Fund building in Kermanshah province to protest the non-payment of their overdue entitlements. These retirees, many of whom are struggling with poverty and rising living costs, voiced frustration over the months-long delays in receiving their rightful benefits. Also, retired telecommunications workers in East Azerbaijan, Isfahan, Kermanshah, Sanandaj, Elam, and Rasht held a protest to express their anger over poverty, poor living conditions, and the government's continued disregard for their demands. These pensioners, many of whom spent decades working to keep Iran's communication systems running, are now struggling to make ends meet, as their pensions lose value against rising inflation. Peaceful protest by a number of dhow owners and sailors in Bushehr province escalated into violence after law enforcement forces launched a violent assault on the demonstrators in front of the General Directorate of Ports and Maritime Affairs. The protesters had gathered to voice their grievances over dire working conditions, lack of support services, and increasing economic pressure on seafarers in the region. However, instead of addressing their legitimate demands, security forces reportedly attacked the crowd with batons, attempting to disperse them by force. A group of Shaheen car pre-order holders staged a protest outside the main entrance of the Ministry of Industry, Mine and Trade in Tehran. The demonstrators voiced their frustration over repeated delays in the delivery of their vehicles, some of which have been pending for months. Many held signs demanding transparency and accountability from the manufacturer and the ministry, urging officials to take immediate action and fulfill their commitments. A group of sailors in the port city of Genave gathered in front of the local port authority building to protest deteriorating living conditions, the lack of welfare services, and widespread unemployment among seafarers. A group of Istiqlal, known as Taj, fans gathered outside the club's headquarters to protest its poor management and weak performance during the transfer window, only to be met with a crackdown by Islamic Republic security forces. What started as a peaceful protest quickly turned tense. A violent incident occurred on Farashgard Street in Tehran, while members of the Social Emergency Patrol forcefully confronted a woman in public.